Okay, it's by my phone, it's 6:34. It's roughly that on the clock I'm looking at too. So we will go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask for the roll to be called, please.
Goss, Patterson, Rodriguez,
Here.
Rogers,
Present.
Storr,
Present.
Esri,
Present.
Thorsland.
Thank you. We do have the minimum for a quorum. I do know Mr. Thorsland is at home recuperating from a new knee. He got it replaced on Monday, and he's still, I assume, I haven't heard that things aren't going well. I hope they are. Hope they continue to go well with the rehab and healing up from that. But he's still well within his period of time that he's supposed to just truly take it easy. And then Mr. Goss informed me that he had a conflict tonight. I didn't hear anything from Mr. Patterson. So, oh, go ahead, Mr. Summers.
Chair Patterson, unfortunately, I believe has COVID, so he is restricted to home.
That would explain Mr. Patterson's not being here then. Thank you, Executive Summers. Okay. We will then move on to the approval of the agenda and addendum. We are going to pull what the addendum that was sent out to us earlier this week, and then if you received Mary's email, I believe that was yesterday, we're going to go ahead and pull that back off due to the short time that we had to look it over in part, and also the point that hopefully there was other funding streams to accomplish that later on this year, hopefully. So with that being pulled, are there any other changes to the agenda or addendum to be made? And if not, would someone care to make a motion to approve as amended?
I'll motion to amend it.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Is there a second? Thank you, Mr. Storr. Yeah, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thanks. We're on then to agenda item 4, approval of the minutes from the January 5th, 2023 regular meeting. Is there such a motion? Moved by Mr. Storr, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Any additions or corrections to be made? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you, that passes. We are now on to public participation. I only have the one public participation sheet up here at this point in time. Do ask that you keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. Mr. Tony Grillo.
We got new microphones. It's pretty cool. My name's Tony Grillo, here representing Donato Solar to discuss the projects that we have on the agenda. I don't know if I really need to go into much detail. If I'm here for questions when those agenda items are get brought up, and I think that's that. So,
Thank you. And there may be, yes, I know you're willing to stick around. There may be some questions of you later on in the meeting. Thanks. Would you care to speak? Okay. So with no other public, we will move on to the next item. We will close public participation and move on to communications. Are there any communications from the committee members or Executive Summers? Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 7, new business, items for information only. We have A, the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency notice of application for renewal of National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit IL 0072052 for the Safety Clean Systems Incorporated terminal located at 500 West Anthony Drive, Urbana, Illinois. This is something we do every year. I don't know how long Safety Clean's been there, but quite a long time. And we just recently did the exact same for Clifford Jacobs Forging. And basically it's just EPA's way of, the Illinois EPA of letting the counties kind of know what businesses, I guess, are in their counties and still out there doing business, or at least intending to do business since they've renewed their licenses. Is there anything else you'd care to add, John, or any other questions from the committee? Again, it's information only. It's nothing we really have anything to do with other than just this is what's going on in your county. So with Noah, Mr. Storr.
Sure. Is Representative Ammons on the distribution list? I saw that Senator Paul Faraci is, but
State Representative Michael Marin is on the list, which would indicate that maybe this is not in Representative Ammon's district.
Okay, with no further questions or comments, we will then move on to agenda section 8, new business, items to be recommended to the county board. We have A, zoning case 067-AM-22, a request by Anthony Donato, doing business as Donato Solar Urbana LLC, to amend the zoning map to change the zoning district designation from the CR Conservation Recreation Zoning District to the AG2 Agriculture Zoning District in order to allow a data center as a special use in related zoning case 068-S-22 and a PV solar array as a second principal use as a proposed county board special use permit in related case 070-S-22 on a 13.62 acre tract in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of section 32, township 20 north, range 9 east of the third principal meridian in Summer Township, commonly known as the farmland located on the northwest corner of the intersection of West Oaks Road and Squire Farm Road, Urbana. Is there such a motion? Moved by Ms. Rodriguez. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Rogers. Thank you. John, go to you first for any comments, and then we'll start any discussion we have.
Yeah, this was recommended unanimously by the ZBA at their December 29th meeting. We did get lots of public comments in the public hearing. Most of the comments were of a questioning, and we would provide answers. I actually thought we would have some folks here tonight, but not. That's really all I wanted to point out.
Okay, thank you. Questions or discussion from the committee members? Now, remind me again, John, we did the one up by Rantoul for Donato. Is this only the second one at the ELUC level? Okay, that's what I was thinking. This is only the second one, but it's, you could say, largely the same. Obviously, location has changed. Different piece of property. Any questions at all from the, I mean, if there's none, there's none. Go ahead, Mr. Storr.
Mr. Hall, could you summarize any of the questions of the public that you might recall?
Sure. Harold Charlo spoke at both meetings. He was concerned about the decommissioning, and ZBA members assured him that ELUC would be approving a decommissioning and site reclamation plan. Mrs. Charlo she didn't agree with the rezoning. She thought the property should stay CR. From a staff level, we looked at the kinds of uses that are right next door inside the city of Urbana. That property was CR at one time, but it got annexed and developed. And I think it can be reasonably argued that setting this land in a solar farm with the kinds of plantings that we require probably will be better for the environment than other kinds of business and industrial uses. So yes, it does need to be rezoned. It is going to be developed, but in a very unique way that actually should be positive for the environment. And we had one other neighbor who spoke. I can't remember the gentleman's name. He was in the house that's southeast of this property. And again, it seemed like the board was able to answer all of his questions. And so that was the sum of it.
Thank you.
And I should point out that the city of Urbana will not be considering this rezoning. They didn't think it was worth their time. They didn't require the 2 hearings for the special use permit. The petitioner spoke to the city engineer. They have an understanding about the roads. So I think everyone is on board.
Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, I guess we're ready to vote. All in favor of the resolution, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. We will then move on to Part B, zoning case 070-S-22. A request by Anthony Donato, doing business as Donato Solar Urbana LLC, subject to the rezoning and related case 067-AM-22, and in addition to the special use permit requested in related case 068-S-22, authorize a special use permit for a photovoltaic solar array with a total nameplate capacity of 4 megawatts MW, including access roads and wiring, as a county board special use permit and as a second principal use on a 13.62 acre tract in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 32, Township 20 North, Range 9 East of the 3rd Principal Meridian in Summer Township, commonly known as the farmland located on the northwest corner of the intersection of West Oaks Road and Squire Farm Road, Urbana, and including the following waivers of standard conditions. Part A, a waiver for not providing a decommissioning and site reclamation plan that includes cost estimates prepared by an Illinois licensed professional engineer prior to consideration of the special use permit by the Zoning Board of Appeals per section 6.1.1.A.3. Part B, a waiver for locating the PV solar array less than 1/2 mile from an incorporated municipality and within the contiguous urban growth area of a municipality per section 6.1.5 B2A. Part C, a waiver for the separation distance of 97 feet between the solar inverters and the perimeter fence in lieu of the minimum required 275 feet per section 6.1.5 D6. Is there a motion as such? Moved by Ms. Rogers, seconded by Ms. Rodriguez. Thank you. Discussion on this or anything specific to this, Mr. Hall? They're obviously all related.
Well, yeah, actually, many of the comments I reviewed are actually reviewed here under the special use permit. One thing that the memo doesn't go into is the fact that around the north edge of this solar farm is the Beaver Lake drainage ditch, and the Beaver Lake drainage ditch, like the Saline Branch drainage ditch, is known for having large easements along their length so that they can be maintained. And the developer met on site with two of the 3 drainage district commissioners, and they mapped out where they wanted the easement to be preserved. And they put the flags in the ground. They entered that into the GIS. So we have a good record of what the drainage district wants. And So again, everything went very smoothly, and the ZBA recommended it unanimously, so.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hall. Any questions, comments, discussion on this item from the committee? Okay. Seeing none, we will move on to vote then. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. We will then move on to basically the third part of this whole issue in front of us, Part C, decommissioning and site reclamation plan for zoning case 070-S-22, a request by Anthony Donato via IAG Investments LLC, doing business as Donato Solar Urbana LLC, to approve the decommissioning and site reclamation plan for the PV solar array in zoning case 070V-22 with a total nameplate capacity of 4 megawatts MW, including access roads and wiring, subject to the rezoning in case 067-AM-22 on a 13.62 acre tract in the southwest quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 32, Township 20 North, Range 9 East of the 3rd Principal Meridian in Summer Township, commonly known as the farmland located on the northwest corner of the intersection of West Oaks Road and Squire Farm Road, Urbana. Is there such a motion? Moved by Mr. Storr, thank you. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Rogers, thank you. Discussion on this. John, do you have anything on this? I mean, we have this in front of us, obviously, the first one it ran to, there was some questions on the numbers, but
Yeah, this uses the same unit cost numbers as the Rantoul plan that was approved back in November. And so, and more importantly, the text spells out all the ways the county can use the financial assurance if necessary. So we're very happy with the decommissioning and site reclamation plan.
okay. If there's no further comments or questions on this, you're getting off easy tonight, Mr. Grillo. But if you do it often enough, we will then move on to the vote. As all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. Mr. Hall.
Could I just say that, yes, this is the second one of these solar arrays, and there's 2 more in the pipeline. But I've never worked with an applicant who so carefully followed up on staff comments. And that's why these projects have gone as smoothly as they have. This petitioner listens to the concerns of the county and follows up on them. And, you know, that's why it's going so smoothly. So we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. It's nice to hear. So thank you, Mr. Grillo, and your company. Okay, we'll move on then to D, the adjustment of financial assurance for the California Ridge Farm Champaign County Special Use Permit 696-S-11. We'll go ahead and just let Mr. Hall fill us in and any discussion, and then we'll make the motion.
Okay, this is the third update on the California Ridge Wind Farm financial assurance. I'm happy to say that the wind farm company has used the same engineer for each estimate, and so it's very easy to track the change in numbers. And as we highlighted in the memo, you know, we've had a lot of inflation in the past few years. The increases in costs here exceed the rate of inflation. As a matter of fact, the increase in salvage value increased the rate of more than the rate of inflation. We used USGS values for salvage values because they're free and they're on the net. The petitioner uses a an online service called Statista that you have to subscribe to get the numbers. But in some cases, USGS salvage values were even higher than the Statista values. So I think all the numbers are good. I ran it by Jeff Blue for the road-related things, and Jeff thought it was a good estimate. At this time, we actually have more financial assurance than we need because they opted to leave the letter of credit at a larger amount. And as you can see, separate from this, in May, we're going to get about another $1 million put into the escrow account. And that escrow account, I'm not aware of any other county that has a requirement like that. We won't have that requirement in the future as a result of the new law passed, but at least for this wind farm, it's, you can call it a very restrictive approach, but the owner has been doing this now 3 times. It's going very smoothly, and, I think it's protecting the county's interests. So that's all I have, unless there are questions.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions or discussion from the committee members?
Thanks for explaining all that.
It's not a fun thing to do when we get these updates to go back and track all the numbers, but it is satisfying to have it end up, well, so.
Well, I'm glad that you're looking out for the county's interest and doing all of the bookkeeping and accounting that needs to be done. Thank you.
Okay, we do need to approve this to go to vote on this to pass it on to the county board for recommendation for approval at the county board level. Is there a motion to approve it as presented? Moved by Ms. Rodriguez, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. We are then on to E, resolution authorizing agreement to use State Farm Center parking lot for IEPA one-day household hazardous waste collection on April 15th, 2023. Mr. Hall, you want to speak to this first? Go ahead and we'll.
Sure. This would be, I think, the second year that we will do the household hazardous waste collection in the State Farm Center parking lot. I provided a copy of this draft agreement to the State Farm Center staff. I haven't yet heard back. They're working on it, but I haven't heard if they have any changes. So this may change before it goes to the county board. And if so, I'll report that at the county board. It may change after the county board approves it, in which case you'll see it again next month, because we have to have this done in time for the event in April. But there is still plenty of time, but hopefully this will be the only time you see this.
Mr. Storr. Go ahead.
Motion to
Okay,
approve.
move to approve. Thank you, Mr. Storr. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Rogers. Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Or is there any further questions, discussions? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Thank you. That passes unanimously. Okay, on to F, zoning case 058-AT-22, an omnibus text amendment to amend the Champaign County's zoning ordinance to update material management, solid waste related uses as described generally in the legal advertisement. My tongue's getting twisted. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Storr. Is there a second? Moved by Ms. Rogers, seconded by Ms. Rogers. Thank you. Mr. Hall, do you want to speak to this first?
Just point out that the City of Urbana City Council voted no protest on this, and we appreciate that.
I'll just kind of say that I appreciate Susan Monte's diligent work. It was a pleasure to work with her.
And I'll say thank you, Mr. Storr, for working with Ms. Monty on this. And yeah, it's good. We held that for that extra month to let Urbana look at it, and it's nice to know that they didn't protest it. So, if there's no further questions or comments on this, we'll go to the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That passes unanimously. We are then on to section 9, other business. We have the monthly reports from both November 2022 and December 22. Is there anything you want to point out on these, Mr. Hall?
Just to say that we ended 2022 with 43 zoning cases filed, which is the most that we've seen for more than a decade. I don't know how long it's been since we had that many cases. And we ended the year with only 12 cases pending. It's difficult to end a year without at least 12 cases pending. So I think Susan Bergstrom has done a fantastic job this year keeping up with the cases. The way we do zoning cases, we were told by the courts, you got to produce better findings of fact. And the way we do that takes a lot of work. And with things when things change, you got to go back and change everything that you've done up to that date. So I just can't say how well Susan is doing in that position, and I hope we have her for years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Is there any discussion of these items before we receive them and place on file? Seeing none, we will do just that, receive them and place them on file. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Go ahead.
I should also mention that on the backlog of enforcement cases, that came down a lot this year. We have a backlog of old enforcement cases we're trying to take care of. At the same time, we get 70 to 100 new complaints every year. And we hired a new zoning officer a couple years ago, and Charlie Campo. I'm just really pleased with the way Charlie has been handling the cases. Our backlog is down to only 272, and a few years ago it was close to 500. And that's not all due to Charlie, but he's managing to keep it from growing, and that has been our historic problem. Is it would always grow every year. So Charlie's doing a good job with that.
Thank you, John. And I think I can say that if you could pass the committees and the county as a whole, thanks on to your staff, especially Ms. Bergstrom and Mr. Campo in these particular items. Okay, we're then on to 10, Chair's Report, which I have none. On to 11, designation of items to be placed on the consent agenda. And of course, anybody can pull off any item off the agenda, consent agenda, up to the point of the meeting when we just get to the consent agenda or setting the agenda for the county board meeting. Or we could decide as a committee to just keep any item off if we so choose to. But basically all of section 9, we have 8, 8A, 8B, 8C, 8D, 8E, and 8F will all be on the consent agenda unless somebody chooses otherwise, which. But that's, as of right now, we'll leave them all on the consent agenda. And with that, we will adjourn this meeting at that clock over there. Looks like about 7:02. And my phone says 7:04, somewhere in there. Thank you all. We're adjourned.